Like, so if you basically get 12 teams in there, and I guess the way you're going to go, you're going to go 5 to 12. I think the top 4 get essentially a first-round bye.
Okay.
And so now you're playing like 5-12, 6-11, 7-10, 8-9.
Okay.
And so those games should have some relative parity. But if you end up, like go 2-3 years into this and like a 9 seed or worse has never won a game in this format, they're effectively 0 for 12. Like, then we're kind of like, all right, this isn't quite getting anything done.
Like, what are we doing?
You can look at it that way.
You know what, ticks me off and gets me going, whether it's the Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, or some foolishness going on with HBCUs. And then with you got, Trump or just typical idiots that are, around. But one thing is also idiots talking about, Florida State. So you have SEC's Greg Sankey. Did you see this earlier here?
No.
This was earlier today. And basically he took a shot at Florida State defending Georgia. All right. So this was his comment here. He says, let's see here. He says, Georgia was one of the best 4 teams in the nation and didn't get in the playoffs. But you don't see us jumping up and down and complaining and hanging national championship banners. Complaining, crying, and hanging up national championship banners when they didn't even get in the playoffs.
I don't recall us hanging up a national championship banner. So you can fuck off. Like, seriously. No, I agree with the statement. Georgia was one of the top 4 teams in the country. Mm-hmm. They were, hands down. But guess what? They lost an important game at the wrong time, and they were out. And they accepted that. Kirby knew when he walked off the field against Alabama that he was out because he lost. We didn't lose in any of those rounds. Like, that's the difference. There's 10 years of BCS Final Four history to say that we belong there. And you all did some shady shit this past year. You will not be forgiven by me. And there's no excuse for it. You could try to be cute and throw shade around, but at the end of the day, you're just an asshole.
So this the extended, playoff teams, this is going to, you think this will completely eradicate the Florida State rule, if you will, or the issue from last season? Or do you think that this could happen again?
No, and let's be clear, the Florida State issue is going fucking undefeated for 13 games and winning your conference with 12 teams in the playoff. Yeah, that fixes it. That absolutely fixes it. You're never going to have a team in a major conference go 13-0, win the conference title, and not make it with 12 teams. Yeah. So yeah, you fixed it. Congratulations. A year
after
too late.
after the fact.
A year too late. Right. And I've said this before. They knew when they made that fraudulent decision last year.
Yeah, we were talking about
this playoff was coming, and they knew that there's this bullshit narrative that you can feed. That's like, well, it was a one-off. Now we're going to 12 teams. Florida State would easily be in, and and Georgia, for that matter, would have been in, and you get to change the whole thing. If you were going to screw somebody, circumstantially, the last year of the 4-team format was the ideal time to do it, and they did.
Wow. I think I agree there.
You should. If you didn't, there'd be something wrong with you.
Oh man, we'll see who makes it. I it's going to be very interesting because I want to see the back half of those 12 teams, like whatever, 8 to 12. See if a mid-major sneaks in there. I mean, for what that's worth. I'm talking about like a Notre Dame. I know mid-major is not the correct name, but like a Notre Dame or name some other, these. If TCU maybe with 2 losses or something like that,
well,
one of those.
You look at, any team out of that Big 12 at this point.
Yeah.
Would fall into that category.
Yeah.
I don't really care so much about that.
About what, 8 to 12?
Yeah. What matters about 8 to 12 or even 6 to 12 is, in this format, will any of those teams be able to make a run?
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe get to the semifinal. Maybe get to a final. Like that's what would make this incredibly entertaining.
Yeah.
Like, so if you basically get 12 teams in there, and I guess the way you're going to go, you're going to go 5 to 12. I think the top 4 get essentially a first round bye.
Okay.
And so now you're playing like 5-12, 6-11, 7-10, 8-9.
Okay.
And so those games should have some relative parity. But if you end up, like go 2-3 years into this and like a 9 seed or worse has never won a game in this format, they're effectively 0 for 12. Like, then we're kind of like, all right, this isn't quite getting anything done.
Yeah, like, what are we doing?
You can look at it that way. I look at it, there's a lot of teams are capable of a singular slip-off. But when you watch a whole season of college football, you tend to look at teams at levels.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, that, these 4, 5, 6 teams are at this kind of high level. And then, like, the next ones are kind of, you can tell there's just a measurable difference between that, when you're, and again, it's no secret. Like, it's players. Like, the teams that have a bunch of dudes that show out at the combine and get drafted are usually the best teams in college football, and that's the correlation. So it's like, if you're looking at, I don't know, maybe some years it's a 4-team level, some years maybe it's a 7-team level, where you've got those teams that are pretty damn loaded, a lot of NFL talent running around, well coached, have good systems, and they play at a really high level.
Yeah.
And then below that, for whatever reason, maybe the coaching's not there, maybe the coaching's there, but the talent's not, or maybe there's just an inconsistency of performance that keep those teams at a lower tier.
No, that's for sure. There's 2 things before we leave off this college football thing here. There's 2 things. There's things I'm liking about Florida Gators in this off season, if you will. But there's 2 things that I'm hating right now. Like every day I'm reading updates. So Kamani McLean, the guy that was with Colorado, he was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, and then couldn't cut it with Deion. They got into it a lot of times, and so then he transferred out of there and came to Florida Gators. It's been like a bunch of reports. He's showing up to practice late and workouts, and he's getting into it with his position coach and this and that. It's like you just can't be an idiot. And there was a false report that he was cut from the team. The head coach actually today just had to come out and dispel those rumors.
Oh, really? I thought he was removed from the roster. No.
No, right. So that was like a thing that was trending on Twitter. Yeah. And no, he just came out a couple of hours ago and dispelled those rumors. And what he said was the rumors are being blown out of proportion a little bit. So that means there is some truth to it, though. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's all that means.
There's a problem.
There is a problem.
We haven't yet removed him from the roster.
And you just can't be that big of a effing idiot. You just can't, man. You've already screwed up at the last place. You're going to end up at a fucking JUCO or something. That's the first thing.
No, I again, like you put 5 stars on a guy's name and these sort of things. It's like some guys just are not built for this.
Yeah.
And they get exposed and they don't have the structure in their life or the mentality to have the discipline to get all they can out of their talent. On some level, it's sad, but on another level, it just is what it is. And if this guy, ran himself out of Colorado, he's given a second chance, and if you're not showing significant progress, the time people are going to wait on you to come around gets shorter at every stop.
I mean, so much shorter. So much shorter, man. Yeah. And it's just not going to matter in the end. I say this. I talk about my guy all the time, Keith Brumbaugh. He got kicked out of 2 Division I schools, but he had so much talent. He got kicked out of 2 Division I schools, ended up at the JUCO, and guess what? He did destroy the JUCO, broke records, averaged like 45 a game. You can look it up. It was crazy. But even though he destroyed JUCO like that, being kicked out of those 2 Division I schools, it just left such a big stain when it's time to try the professional route and go to the NBA. You got such a big stain on you, man. It's second stop. It's time to stop messing and bull jiving around. That's the first thing is Kamani. The second thing is this quarterback battle. I just hate when you got the new blood, new talent, 5-star quarterback in town, freshman year, and you want to push this older guy out there because he's whatever 4th, 5th year senior, and because he has whatever seniority, and he's okay. He's solid, but I don't want solid. I want dynamic. We've been sorry for too long. Leave solid as a backup. If dynamic gets hurt, then you let solid come in and frolic around. But with
solid doesn't frolic.
But if you want, jobs are on the line this year. You know what I mean? Like jobs are on the line. Why do you want to put your fate in the hands of solid?
Yeah.
Like just why? And then by the time you go 3-4 to start the season, then you're gonna go to dynamic. It's too fucking late.
Yeah.
And we've been down this road before. I don't understand it, but whatever. We'll see if that play out.
People are really most people are inherently conservative.
Yeah.
And I think a guy like that looks at this, and we're talking about Billy Napier.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, Graham Mertz played pretty well last year. He wasn't necessarily the reason we were not great. And so it's like I can roll him out, and if he flounders, then I've got this in my back pocket.
Yeah.
And then I can save the day with that. But if you roll out the young guy and it goes badly, he may break.
Yeah.
You may break his confidence, and then you're kind of rolling Graham Mertz out, and you don't have anything to sell the future at that point. If Graham Mertz doesn't come in and get you to a decent level bowl, you have nothing.
Yeah.
Because now there's this broken quarterback that we all thought was going to be great.
Yeah.
And now, there's big questions. He couldn't beat out Graham Mertz.
Yeah.
Really bad when we saw him. So, the easy, conservative, safe play is, we start Graham Mertz and then we unleash the DJ as this goes along. Even if the season goes bad, even if you're 2-6 at one point, and then you pivot to DJ, and you again. If he plays great, fantastic. If he doesn't play great, you hope to see at least flashes, and you sell the future. It's like, we started 2-6, we finished 5-8, and we actually look pretty good. DJ's clearly the guy, and we can sell that to save my job.
That won't work, Billy.
It probably won't.
Now,
but I think people, there's a conservative bias.
That makes sense though when you broke that down. That makes a ton of sense, and I'm sure we've seen that throughout the history of football. That makes a ton of sense, but that's not going to work, Billy. In this case, it just won't. It's not going to cut the cake, man. All right, we need a huge knife to cut this cake.
Now, are there? And this is I don't like not getting good information on this. Is there seemingly reliable information on how DJ and Graham are performing in Gator circles?
And this is how I know DJ is performing well, because there isn't much, right? So you'll get the occasional, DJ and Graham are working well together throughout this off season, and Graham is teaching him the ropes and things like that. Right. But you don't if DJ was performing really bad, you would hear that everywhere. You just would. People love that, and I'm sure Graham isn't perform. And in the spring game, they both played well. DJ was dynamic, as the term is said, and Graham was okay. He was solid, and that's just how I'm sure that's how this whole thing is been playing out.
Yeah. I get frustrated because it's I remember Jameis started as a redshirt freshman.
Okay.
And so his breakout was the spring game after his redshirt freshman year.
Yeah.
And then people the guy that was a part-time starter transferred out after the spring game because
he knew. Yeah.
But people had to have known. They just didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
During the fall, they had to know we got the guy.
Yeah, just didn't talk about it.
That
That's
stuff
what's
is
happening
so
here.
frustrating to me. Go back to Alabama. When Tua, and you got Jalen Hurts. It's after Tua comes and saves the day in the title game, people are talking about, in practice he was really good, whatever. Dude, who's not reporting stuff in practice?
You know what's funny right now today? Who do you take, Tua or Jalen? Aren't they still
For different reasons.
For different reasons.
But
still,
if
that's crazy.
If Tua had Jalen's durability, it's not a contest.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But he doesn't, and you can't run away from that.
No, Jalen's there every week.
Yeah, I mean he is there every week, so it is funny.
No, it is. I just thought about that. Because you had that whole situation at Alabama, and then Jalen had to leave, and you think that Tua beat him out, and Tua's the better man, and then you look at it years later, and you still really can't decipher.
Well, and I was not a Jalen Hurts fan at Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, he made some noticeable improvements at Oklahoma as a passer, which he needed to make. And no matter how his career plays out, from the way he threw a football at Alabama to what he's done already as a pro, it's not comparable. I have a tremendous and always will have a tremendous amount of respect for him for getting to the level that he did. Because at Alabama, there was no sign, in my opinion, that he would ever get to the level that he's been so far as an NFL player.
Wow.
There's no way. I did not think he was even a roster consideration. I mean, he was like a bad Tim Tebow as a pro.
Yeah.
Like literally.
Yeah.
And I thought Tim Tebow had the whole cult hero thing and whatever, and maybe that's why he got drafted and got some starts.
That
at
is
one
why,
point.
not maybe.
But Hurts didn't have that.
No.
But he worked his way through it, and credit to him.
No, for sure.